Welcome back. It's 1:38 on GB News TV and DAB Plus digital radio and online. You're on the money with me, Liam Halligan. Now, a temporary ban in palm oil exports by authorities in Indonesia, the world's biggest exporter of edible oil, will impact prices we pay for certain goods in the UK. Everything from chocolate to biscuits and shampoo, which use palm oil, could be affected. The UK gets just over half of its palm oil imports from Indonesia, and now manufacturers around the world will have to compete for alternative supplies. This action from Indonesia is part of a raft of crop protectionism around the world since the war in Ukraine erupted, as governments seek to protect their own food supply as agricultural prices go up. The ban, which comes alongside the shortage of sunflower oil from Ukraine, the world's biggest producer of sunflower oil, could raise problems for UK producers and consumers alike. Joining me to discuss this is the political commentator Jason Reed. Andrew Crook is the president of the National Federation of Fish Fryers. Welcome back, both of you, to On the Money. And I'm still with Vicky Price here in the studio. Jason, let's get your take on this. How serious a development do you think this rise in food protectionism is? Countries refusing to export food that they ordinarily export in order to make sure they've got supplies for their own populations?
Well, this is a natural reaction to the crises that we're seeing around the world. Indonesia has obviously decided to prioritise its interests at home, but that means that the rest of us around the world suffer because we were, as you say, buying so much palm oil from Indonesia. If the government doesn't take action now, this has the potential to become really, really serious because we know that food prices were rising anyway. We know we're in a cost of living crisis anyway, and we know that we have all these supply chain issues for a variety of reasons. And so the government should be taking action to fill that gap that is going to be left by the lack of palm oil exports from Indonesia.
It can't order the world's fourth most populous country, which is what Indonesia is, to export their palm oil if they don't want to. What can the government do?
I think we should be urgently looking to buy palm oil from elsewhere. The second biggest provider in the world is Malaysia. They supply almost a third, I think, of the world's palm oil. And the Malaysian Palm Oil Council has come out to say that they'd be delighted to work with the British government in the wake of what Indonesia is doing. And so it's the government's responsibility to fill that gap and make sure that there isn't an interruption to our vegetable oil supply because of the actions of the Indonesian government.
Andrew Crook, you're at the sharp end, if you like. You are president of the National Federation of Fish Fryers. We know from talking to chippies up and down the country in the past here on The Money that vegetable oil, edible oils are a big part of the cost base of fish and chip shops. This is bad news for you and your members, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fish is expensive. Potatoes going to be expensive later on in the year, but we can't cook them without any oil. And there's an increasing possibility that we'll run out of oil. I've been working closely with DEFRA, and I know DEFRA are sourcing alternatives. Again, as Jason said, Malaysia are looking to fill some of the space, but we're definitely going to have a little bit of a shortage. So we're trying to encourage our operators to manage their oil well and make sure they use certain techniques to make sure that the oil goes a bit further, because what we don't want to do is run out.
What's happened to the price of vegetable oil, edible oils over recent weeks and months, Andrew? Because, of course, food prices were going up anyway before the war between Russia and Ukraine, weren't they? The Food and Agricultural Authority saw food prices go up by about 30%. Their food price index over 2021. There was already a lot of food price inflation in the system. And then, of course, that escalated after Russia-Ukraine. So what's been happening to the price of the edible oils that you and your members have been buying up until now?
Well, some of the oils have doubled in price. So palm oil's doubled, beef dripping's doubled. I use High Lake sunflower oil in my own shop. As you can see, I'm in the shop now. And that's gone up by 50% in about 3 weeks. So we're already seeing massive increases, and that's adding to all the other increases we've had. So, yeah, it's putting an immense strain on our margins, and we're having to absorb quite a lot of that. And unfortunately, a little bit of that's having to be passed on to the consumer. But we are looking at alternatives. We are doing our best to try and keep prices as low as possible. Shops are quite a resilient industry, and shops are looking at alternative species of fish, and, as I say, managing their oil well to just try and keep that price point. But it's definitely going to be a tough period for the fish and chip industry.
And Andrew, just briefly, before I go to Vicky Price and then back to Jason Reed, what kind of a share of your total costs is the oil that you buy?
It's probably around about a sixth of my costs at the moment.
Wow.
Because of the increase. So, and that's going up each week. So, and then fish, as I say, is doubled. So we're definitely getting squeezed this year. And of course, VAT's returned to 20%, which we are urging the government to please have a rethink, because the whole of hospitality, it's not a handout to hospitality, it's an investment in the future. And if we don't support hospitality, you're going to lose independent businesses, because it's so difficult for us to survive. So we really would ask the government to rethink that.
Vicky Price, Andrew Crook's based in Lancashire, as we can hear. Yeah, he's in touch with fish and chip shops right across the country. He runs the national body. This is a pretty serious situation. This is a sixth of his cost base, and it's already doubled, and it's about to go up even more.
Absolutely. And of course, all vegetable oils have gone up. So it isn't just the case, of course, in relation to the Ukrainian sunflower oil, on which we have been terribly dependent in the past. But it's also, there have been droughts in places like Canada and also in Argentina, where they do produce lots of other types of vegetable oil. And that has affected production as well in the last 6 months. And also there have been Malaysia, which is another country, as we heard, which produces quite a lot of palm oil, too, has had labour shortages and so on. So there has been a problem in supply. I, of course, come from Greece, which uses a lot of olive oil.
Very beautiful it is too.
Yeah, absolutely. We're interested to see what happens to olive oil. It's already gone up in price. I can see that in the shops.
And people will know, you go to the supermarket, there's not as much of it as there was. Some shops are limiting the amount of olive oil you can buy.
Or sunflower oil. You can't find that any longer. But there is an issue. We got to watch the palm oil debate that has been going on for quite some time, because in order to produce palm oil, you have tended to see deforestation happen. So particularly in Indonesia. And companies have tried to move away from palm oil in their products in order to ensure that they don't destroy the environment, which deforestation has been a major influencer in climate change. So there are all sorts of initiatives to have certificates for sustainable palm oil. We are in danger of forgetting that now, because we need it. So we have to just watch it. Of course, we need to do something about the costs. But whether we end up with just making things worse for the longer term, that's one of the issues we need to bear in mind.
Jason Reed, you've been following this story closely. Let's give the last word to you. Obviously, we focused on fish and chips because it's something that so obviously uses edible vegetable oils and palm oils and so on. But palm oils in lots of other products, cosmetics and cleaning products. This is quite an issue, isn't it?
It's a really fundamental issue. It's used in so many different products. I think without any use of vegetable oil, you would see a lot of empty supermarket shelves. But I think this is a really good example of a potential benefit of Brexit, because the European Union is going completely the other way on this. They're talking about banning imports of palm oil because of exactly those environmental concerns that Vicky was talking about. But when you drill down into it, all the alternative vegetable oils, whether it's sunflower or rapeseed or indeed olive, despite the, in addition rather to the cost barriers, they are in fact worse for the environment because they're much less land efficient. You have to cut down a lot more trees to get the same amount of product. So this is a really important crossroads moment when it comes to our vegetable oil use. And I think it's really important that the government sticks with palm oil as the best option, even if we can't get it from Indonesia anymore.
And how reassuring that our politicians are so closely focused on these important policy issues, huh? Political commentator Jason Reed, I've enjoyed your contribution. Andrew Crook, as ever, President of the National Federation of Fish Fryers. All the very best to you and your business, you and your members. And Vicky Price, Chief Economist at the Centre for Economic and Business Research. Always good to have you with us here on The Money.